Thunderbolts, Slay the Spire the board game, and Hidden Cats 3 Steampunk. This is staying in.
It feels like a game of chicken.
That you lost.
Yeah. Oh shoot! I did lose it.
Have you played much chicken in your life, Pete?
Enough to still be here.
Because I know that you don't drive.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but chicken isn't exclusively a driven.
Well, no,
sport.
I know there are chickens, Sam.
You know, but what I mean is to play chicken doesn't mean you have to be in an automobile.
Don't you? What is it then?
No, chicken's a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say play chicken, I don't immediately take myself to being in a car driving dangerously.
Yeah. Okay, can I just sorry, Colonel Sanders, can you just take me through that philosophy you've just articulated?
It's not a philosophy. It's just that two things hurtling towards each other. What is the first one to blink or move out of the way? That is playing chicken. It doesn't have to be in a car.
No. It doesn't have to be, Chris. It's more fun when it is.
It doesn't even have to be things hurtling towards each other. It's just kind of who can break first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true, actually.
Wow.
As been proven by Pete, he couldn't stand the silence any longer.
Do you need a moment, Chris?
I can only hope this podcast will be edited sensitively so I seem less of an imbecile.
It's not a lot of chance of that, unfortunately. I wonder if there is a game called Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? Like it's like how would that be played? Do you know what I mean? Let's spitball this game immediately. Let's make a game right now. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I mean, I can immediately think of a really, really horrifically dangerous version of the game. I mean, if the game is chicken, so the first person to break, to kind of pull away, anything like that.
Yep.
So you're just focusing on Kentucky Fried.
Yeah.
If you're making a game called Kentucky Fried,
yeah,
I'm thinking some form of... It's got to be played in Kentucky, obviously. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, that's given.
So you're then just focusing really in on the fried aspect. So maybe something along the lines of like hand near a hot frying pan or something. The first person to give up pulls away, they lose, that kind of thing. Obviously, the danger is, third-degree burns.
Like the deer hunter.
Yeah, so you like... The goal is like you batter your hand with 11 different herbs and spices, and then you chuck it into the actual fire itself, the whole hand, and then it's the person to pull it out first loses the game of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I mean, I wasn't going down the line of turning your hand into Kentucky Fried Chicken. There was no food element to it. It was the heat against a frying pan. I wasn't seasoning my hand.
Think bigger,
and dipping
Dan.
it in deep fat
Think
fry.
Think bigger.
The Staying In podcast does not condone holding your hand near a naked flame.
Definitely.
Yeah, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But your version of the game guarantees serious injury.
Not necessarily.
Hang on, I just want to clarify if Pete thinks there is any length of time he could put his hand in a deep fat fryer and not be injured.
I mean, it would be finger licking good.
And if we are going to canonise the rules to chicken, that's a good Pope reference there. Thanks very much.
Timely.
Surely the rules of chicken is only one person gets hurt. That's the idea. Only one person loses.
Yeah.
But if you both got hands in vats
exactly.
of boiling
that's
oil,
the thing, Pete. That's where your game falls in. My game, kind of like, if you push it too far, you will get hurt, but you don't have to. You've always got the chance to be the chicken and pull out.
Because what happens in Pete's game is that
just injury.
Both people put their hands in batter. 11 herbs and spices.
Yep.
Both people put their hands in the vat of boiling oil, and both people go, yeah, actually, it does hurt a bit, doesn't it?
Or words to that effect.
Depends how thick the 11 herbs and spices are put on, right? Like, if you're a pro player...
You don't cook much, do you, Pete? Batter is not known for its insulating tendencies.
No, because it's batter.
Yeah.
That's why very few lofts are lined with it.
All right, look. I
love his aggression. All right, look.
All right. I mean, if you've got somewhere else to be, Pete.
All right, look.
I know. Because I'm really annoyed because I keep getting advertised constant, and I mean constantly, across Facebook, and I'm not on there that often, but like Reddit especially, Instagram definitely, like I keep getting advertised. So, when are you seeing Thunderbolts? I didn't even know it was a movie until I got advertised it. And I didn't even recognize it was a Marvel movie for the longest time. Thunderbolts with an annoying little asterisk at the end, which I'm sure is really important in some way, and it's very clever, but it really annoys me. And like. So, like I haven't, but like some of us have seen it, right? And we always end up we talk about a couple of movies on the podcast, but like we generally tend to talk about movies from Marvel. This is number 36, 34?
That's
correct. The 36?
36.
Oh, good lord. So I like comics, and I've vaguely heard of the Thunderbolts.
Yep.
Right? Like vaguely, in a sort of like, you know, in one of those little boxes that Stan Lee would put at the bottom, where it's like, see Thunderbolts issue 32, web fans, and I'd be like, no, I won't, Stan, but thanks.
It's a great impression.
Excelsior! And like, so I know of them, but I know nothing about them. And there is an entire, I assume, multi-million-dollar Marvel movie that's just come out about it.
Yep.
What is it? And why do I like? Should I care?
Well, whether you should care or not, it's kind of up to you, really. Because as you say, Pete, it's 36 films. Out of, I don't know how many they're going to do. It'll probably outlive us all, really. This marks the end, I believe, of Phase 5.
Does it? What? I didn't realise we were still doing phases.
Oh, they're still doing phases, apparently. And yeah, I likewise, Sam. I didn't really get a sense of a beginning of a phase or an end of a phase, apparently, but apparently this is the end of Phase 5. And I heard about this concept a while ago, and it felt very much like a bit of a cash grab, where basically you're taking essentially secondary characters from Marvel films that some of them stretch quite way back, and you are creating a film where they are kind of front and center.
Now, which characters are we talking about here, Chris? And how far back are we talking?
I'm not familiar with the Thunderbolts from the comics. This is kind of taking that as an idea more than being overly faithful to the original source material. It's headlined by Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, who's from Black Widow. You've got John Walker, who is the disgraced former Captain America from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You've got Ava Starr, who was the kind of antagonist in the second Ant-Man movie. And you have Taskmaster, who was also from Black Widow. And I was quite skeptical. I think particularly after the most recent Marvel film before this, which was particularly awful, which we did speak about in this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think we were very constructive, I think, as best we could of our criticism, but that was an awful film.
So right now, Chris,
yeah,
you've essentially described a who's who of who cares.
Exactly, Pete.
Yeah.
And literally, when Sam and I went to see it, first thing Sam said to me as the lights went low was, "Lower your expectations." And
it's what I say in any situation where the lights go out.
Yep, it's true. It's very true. Night.
Lower your expectations.
Lower expectations. And I started watching this, and I love a team-up movie. But if you think about what a team-up movie is, we've had quite a few of them in the superhero genre. We've had the Avengers. We've had Guardians of the Galaxy. Crossing over to DC, you've had Suicide Squad, then the Suicide Squad. And it's the same formula. A ragtag group of individuals who typically are used to working on their own are brought together. There's a moment in which they don't get along, and then somebody will give a stirring speech, and then there'll be an incredible hero shot of them all working together, and then they're announced as this elite team. And, you know, it's lovely. It works really, really cool, but it is I'm quite weary by that by now. And what I find quite interesting about Thunderbolts as a premise is that it toes a line quite neatly between satisfying the Marvel fans of old. It does follow the Marvel formula to a degree, but it's also taking it in a direction which feels like it's edging towards trying to do something different, a la the most recent phase. And what that has led, Pete, in quite a few contexts, is what's called middling reviews. Because they're the Marvel diehards who want it to go back to what it was originally, but don't feel fully satisfied that it's reached that. And there are those perhaps who think, oh, right, it's just kind of going back to how it used to be. It's trying to, it's kind of pandering to fans in a kind of strange sense. Anchoring all of this together, though, is the creative team. And you've got the director, Jake Schreier, who directed Beef, which is a series I really liked on Netflix, which I've talked about on this pod. The screenplay by Eric Pearson, who wrote Thor Ragnarok, which I really enjoyed the script for that, but also co-wrote by Joanna Carlo, who is the co-showrunner of The Bear, which Dan loves.
Absolutely.
With music by Son Lux, who did the music to Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's really interesting.
Tick, 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 tick.
I know. And I would have been really excited if I'd known that before going in, but I went in there with my expectations low, and you're essentially meeting Yelena Belova, who, after the events of Hawkeye, in which they last appeared on the MCU TV series on Disney+, they are quite down. I would say they are actually depressed, and this is a film very much about depression, and very much so. They are kind of a gun for hire, a mercenary for hire, doing shadow ops work for a very corrupt former head of the CIA named Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by the fantastic Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And they just don't know what to do. They go and see their father, the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, and say, do you feel fulfilled? Because they don't. And meanwhile, their boss is actually trying to kind of tidy up and kind of hide away all their kind of secret stuff from the government. And that includes the people who have been working for them. And it ends up with essentially, and it's in the trailers, Yelena Belova is forced into a trap where she encounters all the other people hired by Val. And they are left to kind of basically die. And they manage to emerge from that. And they are forced to kind of team up together against her. And okay, cool. And what actually you get is something that isn't that flashy, because that's been done before in the Avengers. How are you going to top that spinning of the camera around them all as they all come into formation? There isn't somebody making a single heartfelt speech to the entire group to stir them up and stand up. We've already seen that. Guardians of the Galaxy. What you have is this kind of begrudging, slow kind of sense of an unsaid kind of like, okay, yeah, okay, I'm gonna trust you for now, because the premise of the film is I'm forced to kind of work with you. You're not having to narratively justify people staying together because it's kind of done for you in the literally in the location they're in when they first meet. And this film, at its best, is where it is funny, but also where the camera lingers on the looks and the glances between people, as you realise that some of these characters are essentially dicks. They are. And you realise that they are extremely flawed human beings. Likeable, but not completely likeable. And it toes that line really, really well, as I said before. It gets that balance, in my opinion, very effectively. And I've seen it twice now. And I think it really does stick the landing in a manner that isn't big or showy off. There's no superhero landing. There's very little kind of green screenitis. I was pleasantly surprised by this.
Yeah, I was kind of I'm in the same boat as you, Chris. Like when we talked about Captain America: Brave New World a couple of episodes ago, I mentioned then that kind of I'd started to get exciting for that film because they'd just released a new trailer that was a very different and made me get really involved. And at the same time, I mentioned they'd also just released a new trailer for Thunderbolts, which hadn't massively been on my radar. I mean, unlike Pete, I did know it was coming and I did know about it, but it wasn't massively on my radar. And when that trailer came out, I was like, oh, actually, this does look good. And like characters like the Yelena character and the Red Guardian character, I really enjoy spending time with those characters, and it was really kind of selling it for me. So I was actually it was one of those things where when I went to go and see it, I was kind of quietly excited about it because I've been let down a fair few times by Marvel in recent years, and so, but I was kind of like, this does feel like it really could kind of capture that little bit moment, and I'm with you, Kris, that it kind of really did. Like, I do think Florence Pugh and David Harbour are just having so much fun in those roles, and they're so watchable and they're so charismatic that I just really enjoy spending time with them. And as you talked about, like, it does go to some interesting places that actually I'd probably say some of our favourite Marvel films have done. They've not just gone down the typical huge battle in the sky fight and then it's over. Like, there's a lot about kind of mental illness and depression, and kind of there is the element of, with the Avengers and with kind of the Marvel films, especially with someone like Captain America, what happens when you give someone who is morally true and brilliant and kind of like the hero these superpowers? It increases them. It turns him into Captain America, this kind of shining beacon. What happens if people who aren't pure get these superpowers? What can happen if someone who is unstable and someone who is kind of not kind of morally kind of one way kind of or the other, what happens to them? And it kind of explores those elements. And they do some really interesting stuff. And it's not just the thing of building up to the big space battle in the sky. Like, they make a joke about the fact of, like, what, none of us can fly? All we do is punch things. And there is a feeling of, like, bringing it back down to earth. It's almost, because it's a team-up movie, it's a bit like the Avengers, but it is on the ground. It's people fighting. It's not, like, you think of the first Avengers film, they're all flying here, there, and everywhere. It's this grand scale. This is, although the enemy and the kind of the antagonist and kind of all that stuff is quite large, actually the fight is quite small, and I think that's really interesting. What I did think coming out of it was, I think we tried to diagnose what it is that's been missing from these Marvel films and the MCU. And I think what this told me was, we've missed the fact that there haven't been team-up movies. We haven't had movie, Avengers, get together, and we move away. Movie, get them back together again. Now, obviously, this isn't the Avengers, but it is a team-up movie. You do have that sense of kind of things coming together, having a climax, and now we can move on. And I got that sense of that, like, oh, yeah, we've had to wait a long time to get this team up, whereas before we would wait 5 movies and then we'd get a team up, or 6 movies, and we'd get these kind of peaks and troughs of the whole series, ups and downs. And I do think that has got me excited now. And obviously we're moving towards Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, all that stuff. And I do think that has now got me excited again.
For me, it is feeling increasingly difficult to get excited by that stuff, but simply because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to avoid, going full ham on anything at the moment.
I think as a film and as a Marvel property, I think it's the first film in a long time that is actually trying something and doing something and not afraid if that thing fails. And I think it's put its trust in the people who are making it to lead it. I think that's where it benefits the most. So, for example, the director is Jake Schreier. One of the writers is Joanna Carlo, and their previous thing that they both worked on together was the series Beef. And the great thing about that is that was an exceptional comedy series, all about people basically bickering with each other. So they've pretty much picked like 2 amazing people who understand really what that relationship is like and really what those relationships can be like, and given them this playground and these characters to work with. And there's a real hot streak of talent and understanding of dialogue and relationships and how those best come across in screen. That means, for the most part, that the Thunderbolts actually comes across as a really well-written script and characters who really have rough edges to them and are interesting. And just like in things like The Bear and in Beef, don't necessarily have to have a full Hollywood character arc. They're allowed to only slightly improve on where they were before, but not necessarily go full circle and become completely, renegades to Paragon, for example. So I think that there is just an understanding of this film, that they've taken a bit of a risk in terms of the directors and the writers and the characters, and banked on the genuine superstardom of someone like Florence Pugh to carry the weight of the film on her shoulders, and she absolutely knocks it out the park and succeeds, far beyond my expectations of it. I definitely think it tries to have its cake and eat it, especially around the mental health stuff, which I think it kind of, I don't think we're there yet in terms of discussing mental health in a very serious and adult way in a quote unquote Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's not explicit.
But they are trying. They are doing it. They are swinging, and they are making an attempt at and it does feel like a lot. And I think for that reason, that's why it feels like a lot of the earlier Marvel films, like things like Iron Man 3 and things like Thor Ragnarok, and when they were letting creatives and ideas really try and exist up on the screen without really being worried about it playing into a wider narrative, which is going to give people hooked in for years. And we have the luxury of being able to compare Captain America Brave New World with Thunderbolts, one product which was studio machined to within an inch of its life, to one that is pretty much been untouched since it was released, in terms of
no reshoots,
studio influence and reshoots, and being able to compare them side by side and which is the more successful film and which isn't is just absolutely staggering. I really, really enjoyed Thunderbolts, and the cinema going experience was really fun as well. Like, there were people laughing in the cinema, really enjoying it, like having a great time. I think it also has probably one of the best jokes in a Marvel movie probably ever. Like, I was very well surprised from it, but then they've got good people in the movie and they allow them to take risks, and hey, that's what happens.
There was a point, Pete, where Sam and I turned to each other literally midway through the film, and we went, "This is actually quite good, isn't it?" As we were laughing. And to think that these people, like, who are kind of like the lowest of the low in their own selves, who are kind of unloved really to a degree, and not very trusting, you wouldn't look at those group of people and assume in a film such as like this that it would end with a group hug, and it does. And it does it in a really interesting way, and in a beautiful way, and in a way that feels earned. But it's not done, in a manner where you get a crescendo of violins and brass and it's very bombastic. The colour palette is much more muted. The music by Son Lux is amazing music, and like there is a kind of a theme there, but again, it's not like something you can necessarily hum, but it feels quite satisfying to listen to.
Again, it's kind of like, let's get the composers who were nominated for an Oscar for their score to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and let's get them to make our score for a Marvel movie. And it's just like, it's that kind of, let's take a risk on something, which it's not Michael Giacchino, and fair enough, whatever, like amazing composer, but we are not playing safely here. It's, it's like when Disney hired Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross to do the soundtrack to Soul. Like, it's when studios make these actually interesting decisions and they're not too worried about whether it's going to quote unquote pay off at the box office, that we actually get interesting films that have something to say about something. And no matter what you have to say about Thunderbolts, whether you think it's a 5-star film or a 1-star film or whatever, at least it's trying something. At least it's trying to say something about something. At least it's got a brilliant script written by amazing amazingly talented people who seemingly care. And I think when you see that up on the screen, it makes such a difference.
Tell us about Hidden Cats.
All right, sweet. I will. I won't take very long.
Now, on the like cards on the table, Pete.
Yeah.
When I saw this
Yeah.
in our little show notes thing, listening behind the curtain, I think Sam and I were playing, I think something like Far Cry 6 or something, which we've been playing for about 4 years now.
Right.
And we were talking about this game, and Sam had played it, and I had a little look at the game just while we were chatting, and I just said, "Is everything okay with Pete?" Because like this is a game I'd never heard of. It was the third in the series of games. Have you played the previous?
Absolutely not. No. So we're talking about Hidden Cats 3 Steampunk by a developer called Very Very Little Studio. And I want to make it really clear: the only reason we are talking about this is because we got sent a key to our Steam curator page. In fact, a few keys very generously from the developer. And this is basically just one of those things that if you're a developer, you can send out keys to people and through Steam and to curator pages, and people can choose to play them or not. And I thought to myself,
wink.
What was that?
I said nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah. Come on. And so anyway, so that's important context. Another important piece of context, right? You know when you get a flyer through the door?
Yeah.
And you know that the flyer, the way it's been put together, you go, this person clearly knows their business, but maybe not their way around, I don't know, Illustrator, right? Like, they're clearly having a punt and going for it, right? For me, there is something about having a punt and going for it that I really, really love. And I really like it when those people who are just giving it a go and giving it their jolly old best, when it actually turns out they're quite good at what it is that they do. So I decided to play Hidden Cats 3 Steampunk, and because we got sent it. And it was a terrible segue, but it is absolutely true. This is a product that really knows what it is. Like, it really understands what it is. And what it is, folks, is it's basically a is it called Finders Keepers? Is that what it's called? The way you hidden object? It's not hidden object.
I'd say something like a Where's Waldo or a Where's Wally.
Yeah, like a Where's... Yeah.
It's a hidden object game, but every object is a cat.
Every hidden object, yeah.
Exactly. Well, you've just described why it's amazing. So basically, the setup for it, and there are lots in the series. So this is a developer that publishes their own things. They're all really, really cheap. They're all very much of a muchness. They are, go find the hidden object. What is the hidden object? In this instance, they are cats. What is the background? In this instance, it is a steampunk landscape, which really is just kind of like a nice way of saying sort of Victoriana-ish. Like it's not particularly steampunk in that way. And basically, the entire gameplay, and it is Steam Deck compatible. I found that out. I took a punt on that. Plays quite nicely with the mount. I know, right? Needs Steam Deck verified. That's what I'm saying. Basically, you take the mouse and you look around the image, and then when you find a cat, you click on it. That is the entire game. I do not want to make it out like it's anything more than that. What it also is a very pleasant way to spend about 20 minutes in the same way that I would play something like a crossword puzzle or a Sudoku or something, or a colouring book, or one of these other slightly mindful activities of, it is not high intensity action, all of that sort of stuff. It is very simple. Can your brain pick out a pattern in this image? And as you find the cats, you click on them. I think they do a little meow sound.
They do, yeah.
They turn into a different colour, and then if you find enough of them in the area, that whole area turns into a full colour diagram. Each of these games seems to have one picture. It's quite a large picture. You have to like scroll around it. It's quite well detailed. And that's it, right? And They're cheap, right? So this is under £1. Like you can get these for under £1. And indeed, if you don't even have £1, that's that's also totally fine. There are free versions of these games as well where they're just doing these fun ones. And I didn't want to linger too long on this one, but I will say these things. First of all, this is a game that came at exactly the right time for me. This is not going to win a BAFTA, unbelievably. It's not going to win a BAFTA, but it has won a place in a lot of people's hearts. Because as a production nerd, I was like, I wonder how well these do. And they do okay. All the Steam reviews are really positive. I couldn't find a single one that had fallen into mixed. They have found an audience for this stuff, and that audience seems to buy these again and again and again, right? And so while they're not necessarily for the Far Cry 6 crowd, this is clearly a crowd that does exist somewhere, and they are serving that crowd quite well. And as I say, it came at a time where I was just like, I wanted something low stress, low effort, and this was that. Lovely art, well put together, very simple, very straightforward, some fun little achievements that give you a little dopamine high every once in a while, and at the right price, right? Under £1.
I also want to say that I am also part of that audience now. It may seem like I was a bit dismissive earlier on. I started playing it and I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I was looking at the DLC you can get just for this particular title, because there's just something. I was playing this on a PC. I don't know if you can play it in any of the other forms. It was on Steam, obviously. We were playing this.
I think it's just on PC. I couldn't find it on mobile.
It is on Mac, but it's not on any other devices.
I'm thinking of just knowing that these games are there, where I don't quite want to go to bed yet, but I kind of want to stay on the computer a bit.
Right.
And I also want the satisfaction of completing something. I know, Dan, you're really big on that. Yep, complete. Done.
Put it away.
Yeah. So, like, this is really up my street. Very, very much so. And being able to kind of zoom out and see the whole tableau is really quite cool. And as you say, Pete, that dopamine hit is increased by the fact that you're able to kind of like section off bits of the map as you kind of complete them.
Yep.
It's really, really good. So it kind of accelerates it towards the end a little bit a little bit more. And the music's really pleasant in the background that accompanies it.
This is it. This is the thing. And this is why I decided to take a punt on it when I saw it on the Steam Curator. Because sometimes we get sent stuff and I'm just like, that's not for us. Like, I admire you taking a punt, but nah, this is not for me. But this one, when I looked at all the reviews, I was like, well, clearly something is resonating with people here. Like, yeah, just a really nice. I really like. Again, like I think it's just a really well put together thing. I would love to see this on like a compilation of these or something like this for like $3 or £4 on mobile. Like just a really straightforward. Like you say, like I'd love to play one of these every night in bed, because each of these takes like this took me like 20 minutes, half an hour to complete, and that was just very leisurely. So the whole thing, I think the developer here is on something, and clearly that resonates with people as well. We won't hang on around too much on it. Hidden Cats 3 Steampunk. If what we just talked about sounds like interesting to you, I think it's take a punt.
I don't think there's anyone else in this room who has played Slay the Spire, is there?
No.
I have not. I think it's been on my PlayStation for a very long time after it was on like PlayStation Plus about 3 years ago. So I've had it.
I've also had the opportunity to play it and just not bothered. No. I feel like I've sort of experienced it through others by others gushing about it constantly.
So Tam, what am I missing in terms of the video game of Slay the Spire? What is it?
Yeah, come on.
I just don't feel like in the year of our Lord 2025, I need to extol the virtues of one of the biggest indie games that has ever been to this group of people. It's like trying to convince you all to play Balatro. There's just no point.
Well, I've already done it.
Yeah, I know you have, but it's just...
I might play Balatro. You don't know. You don't tell me what I will and won't play. I mean, I won't play Slay the Spire, but you tell me all about it.
I say that because if you haven't played Slay the Spire now, you're never gonna play it. So I'm just not gonna
Why should I play it? I've never given it much thought. Why should I play
It's
it?
just one of the most incredible deck builder roguelites you
You lost me. You lost me at deck builder.
No, Dan, come on. Blueprints.
Yeah, I know. You know what? You're absolutely right. Blueprints it's still. Don't get me wrong. I'm still spending most of my time playing Blueprints, and that is obviously deck builder. I'll take that back.
So back in 2019, Slay the Spire was released to great acclaim. And is now on everything. And honestly, if you haven't played Slay the Spire and you're a fan of games like Monster Train or Balatro, then you just need to play it. And then in a weird move, they released a board game version of Slay the Spire in 2024.
Yes.
And I, for one, was very skeptical.
Well, we both were. We saw it at Essen, didn't we? We were like, all right.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of video games being made into board games.
Yep.
And some of them are all right. Horizon Zero Dawn, all right. Good. Resident Evil, actually a pretty decent board game, that.
Dwarf from Antique.
Dwarf from Antique, yes.
But for all of those, you've got, games that sort of come out and then do nothing, right? So like Stardew Valley.
Yeah. Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. Just games that are just running off the IP and that's it.
Yeah.
So I was always really intrigued by Slay the Spire being turned into a board game, not least because it's quite a nice sort of turn of events. It's like a card game is a video game. Now this card game that's in a video game is now going to be turned into an actual card game. I just find that quite funny.
That's cool.
Because most all other translations of video games into board games, it's kind of a conceptual translation. However, Slay the Spire is a card game, and they're basically turning into the card game that it never was. However, I was entirely skeptical, but that was before I started to see lots of reviewers that I respect and follow actually speak quite highly of this game as an experience, and actually address quite a lot of the things that I was skeptical about in terms of actually thinking about whether I would play it. Things like the fact that it is still a solo experience, but you can play it up to 4 people. And the other thing being that Slay the Spire is quite a slight and thrifty game, probably less than sort of £12. But if you want to buy the board game, you're reaching up to about 80-90 quid.
Jeez Louise.
And then with that in mind, always thinking back to, but I could just like play the game. Why do I want to buy the board game when I can just sit at home on my Switch and play Slay the Spire? Why would I have the same version of the game in a different skin?
Yeah.
So me being me, on my birthday, walked into Aircon and bought Slay the Spire.
Yeah, of course you do.
Okay.
Treat yourself.
Hopefully over the last 2 podcasts, you've really nailed down key aspects of my personality.
I think it's very clear to all, Sam.
Cautious, pensive.
Put something in front of him and he buys it.
Yeah, someone says, "Would you like to?" and he's already opened his wallet.
Was it in a binder, Sam?
And so playing Slay the Spire completes the duology of games that I got for my birthday. Actually, it was a trilogy because it was Dune, War for Arrakis, Slay the Spire, and Moon. And I've played them all now, and they're all absolutely bloody amazing. Played another game of War for Arrakis at the weekend, actually. We finished at 2:30 in the morning. That was great. Anyway, So I've now played Slay the Spire and can report that it is absolutely amazing. Like, it is actually quite staggering how they have not only managed to translate the game, every inch of the video game, into a physical form, but also made it feel like it's very much its own thing that sits aside from the video game experience. Like the two things walk hand in hand, but yet are their own individual entities. It is. I still can't quite wrap my head around how they've really managed it. I mean, I could take a stab. I mean, that's why that's why I'm here chatting to you.
I mean, yeah, like is it just a 1-for-1 translation?
So I think that let's talk about the money, because I think the money is an interesting part of the game, and the reason why it costs what it costs. They have spent a lot of money on the production of this game to really try and provide a similar experience to that which you get in the video game. And by that, I mean that in a game where you are shuffling, upgrading, fighting and battling with a lot of stuff, to translate that into a board game ends up being quite messy and quite a lot to handle. So to give it some equivalents, me and Kris have played like Mage Knight, which is another big gargantuan deck builder game. Mm-hmm. Amazing game, but by George, it's messy and it's real behemoth on the table in terms of tracking everything that is going on. Our friend and yours, Tim Fowers, released a Slay the Spire-esque adventure called Paperback Adventures back in 2022, and he, has come out on record to say that he was inspired by games like Slay the Spire, but instead of weapons and spells, you are basically building words in order to fight enemies. And even though that game is real good, no amount of game trays with a Z again really like tidied up what that game was like as an experience. And it's when you play something like Slay the Spire as a board game that you understand why you would want to spend that much money on production. Because the more you can do to make it a streamlined experience for the players, the more it's going to really feel like what that digital experience plays like. So, for example, all the card art is the same. It comes with card sleeves for every single card in the deck, pretty much, because you should be able to upgrade the cards, and you do that by taking a card out and turning it over and then putting it back in. The main board is made to replicate the ascension of the track in the original video game. You get lots of little tokens and cubes in order to track different things that are happening through the game. And then when it comes to the insert itself in the middle, the insert has been so intricately designed and produced to make getting the game out and putting the game away as simple and as effortless as possible, which is key to the game's success, really. I thought as the game was going on and we were playing it that this was going to be a terrible thing to de-rig, essentially, because everyone's upgrading their cards and turning them around, spinning them, putting other additional cards into their decks. But actually, due to the game's like production value, it's so simple to build up and tear down again. Like, I can't praise the production of this game enough in terms of I spent, over £100 on my copy of Dune, War for Arrakis, and the production quality is absolutely shocking to the degree that some of the miniatures are already falling apart. And I have played it twice. But with Slay the Spire, like the production quality is, every single pound has been spent on how good that game looks and feels. It's incredible.
Do you think there's an element of, and I don't want to seem negative on this, but obviously with a game that could have been very simple to translate, it's a card game. You could have done that on the cheap. Do you think there's any element of the high production value, which does I can absolutely see that from images of it? Is that used to justify a higher price, do you think, or is it just a case of you get the impression from the love that's gone into it that they wanted to put all this into it and it just ended up as a high price?
Good question. I mean, this was originally a Kickstarter.
Okay. Which tends to be kind of like a wish list idea usually, though, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how much do you want? Let's throw it all in and then we'll charge whatever exorbitant cost we can for it. Again, Dune War for Arrakis was a Kickstarter, and again, those minis are falling apart after playing it twice, and it costs more, and it's just... And I think if I hadn't had that experience, I probably would have sort of agreed with you slightly, Dan, in terms of like they've overproduced it in terms to justify the price rather than actually committing money to producing a quality product. However, my experience with like playing two sort of Kickstarter games back to back, I genuinely believe that this is the value that they have placed on this game being the best version that it can be for the player. Like I think that they genuinely believe that any less of a cost or any less production values that they believe would have actually harmed how this game would have felt to play.
A question I wanted to ask, Sam, is how has playing this affected your relationship with the video game?
I think that I definitely think about the intricacies of the video game slightly differently. So I played this with a group of two other friends. There's three of us. So usually Slay the Spire is a completely solitary experience. And I thought that I was only going to play Slay the Spire, the board game, as a solitary experience. However, I think I only want to play it as a group experience because it might be the best cooperative game I've ever played. I think it's genius what it does with its cooperative aspects. So for me, it's changed the relationship with Slay the Spire, the video game, for that to feel really like this is just a solo experience. It's just something that I'm just jumping on my own. And the board game is something that I'm jumping in with friends to play and have that experience. Like how it fuses you all together into a team ascending up this track is magical. And it's something that I think I've only ever really experienced in Daybreak.
I was about to say, yeah, because you recently said the same thing about Daybreak.
I think they're pretty much on par in terms of how genuinely
you got to choose some. You got to choose.
They are. If I was to choose, Daybreak wins it because I think Daybreak is it manages to do that with a wider range of understanding when it comes to board games and exposure to that. However, I think that Slay the Spire, specifically with like my board gaming crowd, like it is just like their wheelhouse to really dig into the detail of quote unquote synergy between cards and between players, to the fact that we did not finish playing this game until 2:00 in the morning, and that was no fault of our own. It was just we could not stop. We just it was. Should we do one more? Should we just play one more? Should we just go one more round? And that is the exact same feeling that you have in all the best roguelites, right? Like Slay the Spire, Blueprints, Monster Train. It's just like, right, I'll just do one. Should we just do one more day? Yeah, let's just do one. Let's just see how far we get. And let's just do one more. Let's do one more day. And we just did that over and over and over and over again for 4 hours playing this game. And we just couldn't stop because we were having so much fun, intricately and intimately knowing exactly how each other's characters operated, how they supported, how they gave each other boons, how they could interrupt certain things in order to do things first, and how we would sort of reverse engineer turns in order to maximize and get the best out of them. And again, a bit like with Daybreak, there is zero capacity to quarterback here. And for any cooperative game to be able to pull that off, I think is a marvel. And again, for any cooperative game not to feel like, right, it's my turn, I'm going to do this, and this. Wasn't that brilliant? Right, Kris, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do this, and this. Pete, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do this, and this. Oh, brilliant. Have we all have a wonderful time? Fantastic. What Daybreak and Slay the Spire do, and the reason why they launched into my consciousness as some of the best cooperative games that I've played, is they managed to feel like all your turns are merged into one. And so how Slay the Spire works is, right, I'm going to play this card. And then someone goes, oh, right, if you play that card, and then I'll play this card, and then someone goes, and then I'll play this card, and go, oh, brilliant, and then I'll do this, and then you'll do that, and then, but hang on, if you change that to this, then we can do this and that, and then we can get rid of that one, and then suddenly it doesn't feel like a singular experience that someone has kind of knitted together, which is always my worry with Slay the Spire when they announced that it was going to be a multiplayer experience rather than just a solo one, that it would be 4 people around a table all having a singular experience of Slay the Spire. Yeah. Somehow they've managed to make it so the only way to be competitive is to be cooperative to its absolute pinnacle. Like, the only way to beat this game as a group of people is to really be on exactly the same wavelength and to really understand every little thing that everyone's doing and how they work and how each character benefits each other and what ways they can take advantage of each other's abilities. And that is the reason why we just kept on playing and playing and playing, because as a group we started off very small, didn't have many upgrades, but that feeling of growing and developing and strengthening together as a team as we faced bigger and bigger and larger and more bombastic enemies was just astounding. And I just cannot believe that it's managed to pull off this trick so that both things feel like, legitimate, excellent and astounding games. It's so good. Can we just talk briefly, right? Can we just talk very, very briefly? Because I realised this. I was on a run with a colleague today, and they'd started playing Blueprints, and they were talking about how brilliant it was. And I said, beyond what we've just said to each other in terms of how brilliant it is, we cannot talk about it anymore.
Can I just say, Sam, I've had this exact thought, and actually, we'd mentioned Blueprints in passing when talking about Slay the Spire, and I had this exact thought that I really, really want to talk to you about Blueprints. However,
but you can't.
Both sides of it mean I can't. I don't want to talk to you because I don't want you to give anything away to me, and also I don't want to talk to you because I don't want to give anything away to you, because I can't wait to speak to you afterwards, because I want to know, there'll be things that you learned in the game very early on that I didn't find out until late, and then vice versa. Mm-hmm. And that will change how the game is played, because you will know certain things, or you'll be looking for certain things earlier on afterwards. And yeah, it's staying in my mind. Like both me and my wife have been having dreams about blueprints.
Blueprints dreams are the pinnacle of video gaming. I just want Kris to do a bit of audio description here, because last night I was playing Blueprints in bed, and I sit there in bed with my little notepad playing it, and I kid you not, for about 5 minutes I discovered something in that game which meant that I had this face on for about 5 minutes.
Sam is making a face that is kind of haunted, amazed, infuriated, aghast.
It's like he's on a Alton Towers roller coaster and he's really angry and also surprised to be there.
It's almost like he's woken up and he's on the roller coaster.
I really recognise this face as a face I have made whilst playing Blueprints as well.
And I was very, very quietly reciting the same 3 words, which is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Sorry, Sam. I thought the 3 words that you say when the lights go down is lower your expectations.
So, I was absolutely last night, and it's really infuriating because I'd love to share that with someone, but I just can't.
Yeah. See, me and my wife play. We're not fortunate to have a PlayStation Portal, so we're on the TV downstairs, and we'll do the same thing of both of us, kind of mouth agape, but we'll kind of just like stretch out an arm that reach to each other's whole heads, like, look at this is happening.
Can I just throw over to Pete, please? Pete, I assume by your face you've not started playing this game like myself.
No.
How do you feel just watching this? This loving going on here.
It feels like with any zeitgeisty game.
No, don't.
No.
Don't. You cannot.
I knew I could count on you, Pete.
Sorry, you cannot use that word. You cannot appropriate that word.
I'm very pleased how
I'm done. I'm off. I'm done.
I'm very pleased to see how people feel about it and how they talk about it. Like, it's really lovely to see people say, like, oh, did you get to? Oh, but we can't talk about. And it is really exciting to see it from the outside. It is the thing that immediately erodes any desire for me to want to actually play the thing.
I know that out of the 4 of us, you will never play this game.
because it's like things like The Witness or things along those lines where it's just, oh, did you get to the? Oh no, but you can't. And like, it's genuinely lovely to see, but it is one of those things where, apart from it just not sounding like my cup of tea, because you have to think quite a lot.
I can't think of another puzzle game that manages to pull off the fact that you can literally approach it from any different angle, but yet still come up with the same results. Like Dan said, like, I could discover something in the first 10 minutes that Dan discovers in the next 10 hours, and us still to have exactly the same experience that lasts the same amount of time. Like, it is just mind-blowing how good it is. And also, the only time I've ever had a text from Dan's wife about a video game has been about Blueprints. And
wow. They should put that on the box.
It's genuinely been quite a profound experience for her, because she doesn't play video games. She does quite like to watch me play sometimes, depending on the kind of game and stuff like that. Like, if it's a narrative-driven game, or there'll be very specific games, often like where you've got branching narratives and stuff, where she can play through me and kind of choosing different stuff. But it's been really profound for her. And like, she's like come home and said, I was talking to people at work about video games and stuff, and I was like, who are you? Like, and she talks about it like she's never had this experience before. It's so surreal for her.
That's great.
It
really is.
This is such a really interesting game to become that sort of obsessed about, in a way, because it is just one of those rare occurrences where you can feel the hand of the creator at every single like step. If you were going to pick a game to be your first video game that you're going to be obsessed about, you could do no better really than Blueprints, because like how safe and supported you feel in that world is just remarkable. And I think that there's temptation to think about this experience being very much driven by an algorithm, but I genuinely feel like it can't be. I genuinely feel like at every single step there is a person behind every decision and every experience that you have in this game, because if it is an algorithm, then I for one embrace our AI overlords, because they've got a much better idea about human experience than I do, because like I love puzzle games, right? Love them, but they infuriate me. And we all know that if there is a quick and easy solution, most of the time I'll take it, let's just get it done. However, Blueprints just gets there, just gets to that frustrating point, just gets to that point where I'm just like hovering over the word gamefacts.com.
I've had to fight my wife to not no, don't look at the answer. We need to do this ourselves.
It just gets there and then goes, right, this is what you want, and then gives it to you. And it's like Darren Brown levels of stuff. It's like what? I was just there to finding out a solution for this, and then you presented me with it just when I was about to cave.
There's been a few times where we've kind of thought, has the algorithm just given us this? And then you actually think about it like, well, actually, no, it can't have, because yes, it gave us a specific room or something, but like everything else that we did then was on us. Like that, we just happened to have figured it out at that time, and the game seems to have given us kind of all the things that we needed at the time that our brains also made the connections. It's a really bizarre thing that it manages to do. And like because we're on like day 24 or something like that, so of each loop, and like every day we come out of it thinking, okay, what did we learn? Okay, we learned this, we learned this, we learned this. What did we got this? It's a short route, it's a short day today, but actually we did get something from this. And there's little something every day that just little breadcrumbs keeps you coming back for more.
Yeah. Marvellous.
It's the end of an era. My Switch has gone up into the loft. My Switch, full fat Switch, lovely Switch that I've played lots of lovely games on. There's no more games coming out for it that I'm particularly interested in playing. So we've just moved it from underneath the television and it's just gone up into the loft.
Oh, what a
and
shame.
It's always a bit of a sad moment when you do that. Like when I did that with my PS3, when I did that with my PS4.
Is somebody playing like a bugle?
Yeah, especially if there's not something replacing it in its place.
Yeah.
Just like the last post.
Yeah.
It feels really sad that there is nothing. There is nothing that Nintendo or anyone can do to make you keep it.
No, like there's definitely, so in terms of non-exclusives, there's definitely games that I still want to play that are also just so happen to be on the Switch, but I'd rather play them on PS5 just because I'd rather play them in a higher frame rate and all that stuff. So, Steam Deck, yeah, exactly. In terms of exclusives, there's nothing on Switch 1 left that I'm like, I really want to play that.
So Pete, what is it joining in the attic?
It's sat next to all the other wonderful devices that have brought so much joy and have ended up in the attic. That's where my Dreamcast is. That's where my Vita is.
Your exercise bike?
That's where my exercise bike is. That's where my PlayStation 2 is, right? It's where my PS3 is. It's where my PS4 is. But yeah, it's going up there now with the controller and the deck and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice.
It does sound like a euphemism for the afterlife. Oh.
It does.
Yeah.
It's gone up into the attic.
It's joining the great Dreamcast in the sky.
It's on a farm. Yeah.
And just like Pete's Switch, we too are ascending the stairs to the attic. For this podcast is coming.
This is our last episode.
No, don't do that. YouTuber bait stuff. So we're ascending to the end of the podcast.
Yes, we are. We have ascended. Join us as we get into the attic. It's stuffy. It's dusty.
The insulation smells great because it's battered.
Yeah. What's up there? Stayinginpod@gmail.com. We'll tell you.
No, Pete. That still exists. That's still under the TV.
No, that's still there, isn't it? Yeah.
Twitter's up there.
Twitter's up there. Facebook's up there.
Our short-lived Tumblr account.
The only thing that's still downstairs is our Instagram account at @stayinginpod.
Glorious.
You can join that.
Hopefully that will never leave. And the thing that will never leave is stayinginpodcast.com. Now that we've set it up, mostly because I can't. And now that it's set up, I'm just like, I'm loath to ever turn it off. But yeah, you can always email us, as I say, with recommendations. Maybe I've put the Switch away too early. Please email me, stayinginpod@gmail.com, and I will reconsider such a hasty activity. Or if you're like, hey, get this on Steam Deck or on PS5 instead. That's also a good one. And also, genuinely, I'd quite like to explore a few more of these games on Steam very few people have heard of, but have very dedicated followers. You know what I mean? Like games that wouldn't hit IGN or GameSpot or one of these places, but the fans that love them really love them. I'd love to, if you've got one of those, let us know on that email. I'd love to see it.
Right. That's about it. What more is there? There's the Spotify playlists. Can you just put some more stuff from Blueprints on there?
Oh, yeah. Blueprints. That is a really good piece of music.
Oh,
Blueprints
it's great.
is an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Some good stuff from Thunderbolts as well, maybe?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's good. It's a burgeoning playlist now.
It is. It is. It is, honestly. You couldn't put that in your attic, Pete. It would fall straight through your ceiling.
And what else? Oh, they're the curated pages on BGG and Steam.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's about it, I think.
Quick question for you. Trousers?
Optional.
As always.